Hello. Welcome to another episode of MXDTV. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. So welcome. This is episode 9 of MXDTV. I hope you can hear me and see me. I haven't done, this is 2 weeks went by since I've done a live stream. I did the last two were pre-recorded, so I hope I remembered how to set it up properly. Hopefully you can see and hear me. Typically I would get a message from my executive producer. I got a orange heart, so I'm assuming that means everything's okay. So welcome to the show. I wanted to talk about my new record that came out today. It's available on Bandcamp. Oh, there we go. Melanie says it looks and sounds great. Okay, that's great. And then Sherry, my mom's, gave me a heart. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll probably do a lot of talking today, which is maybe not a good program schedule, but I wanted to talk about a lot of stuff, so I wanted to take my time. And I had a record that came out today. It's available on Bandcamp. You can download it or stream it. If you're here tonight now and you download music and you don't have it, I have these codes that I can give to you, and you can download the record. I'd love for you to listen to it. You kind of have to listen to it in its entirety, because my great friend and partner Justin Tracy edited it, mixed it, mastered it, and he left a lot of the jokes and a lot of the dialogue in. We took a lot of stuff out too, but he left a lot in, and it's kind of fun to listen to like that. So I'm gonna play the record in order, but I'm also gonna talk about. I've had a lot of things. Well, it's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff I always talk about. But I'm gonna talk about my childhood a little bit. I'm gonna talk about growing up in. Oh, Melanie wants to play a drinking game. So those of you that drink or don't drink but do whatever it is that you do, eat Cheetos. Every time I say the word Fresno, you're supposed to take a drink. Is that correct, Melanie? So we're going to talk a lot about Fresno. We're going to talk a lot about my childhood, and we're going to talk a lot about my made-up friend and demon, Mr. Sorrow. I thought tonight we would start with a story I wrote instead of a song. And I wrote this a while back when I first came up with the idea for my book, which is when I first came up with the idea for my book, which is a series of short stories and poems that are all interrelated, and a lot of them take place in Fresno and in Sacramento. I'm going to read you this, and I'll be honest, I haven't read it in a while, so I might edit it as I'm reading. But this is something called Upon the Arrival of Mr. Sorrow, and it'll set up the rest of the show, I think. And it's kind of, I don't know how long it'll take me, but let's just give it a try anyway. This is something called Upon the Arrival of Mr. Sorrow. I was born at St. Agnes Hospital, August 2nd, 1969, in Fresno, California. The first St. Agnes, the tiny one, 4 stories, maybe 5. It later became an old folks' home. I delivered newspapers there. I didn't even have to fold them. I would just kick them under the door. There was that much space under the door. And the creepy night watchman in his striped uniform would always turn up on whatever floor I was on, leering at me and mumbling under his breath. I don't remember details of the birth. I don't know if I came quickly or slowly. I don't know if my mother knew I was going to be a boy or a girl. I recall a story she told about a fortune teller predicting a boy. My mother consulted fortune tellers? I don't know if my father was present at my birth. I guess it would be nice to know. But what difference does it make, really? There are astrological implications to the time I was born. I am unaware of them. I know that I am, astrologically speaking, a Leo. My mother ran with this one. Lion posters, lion toys, stuffed animals, books about lions. I was aligned with the lion, the king of the jungle. The only person that thought of me this way was my mother. I never felt like that. I was scared at school. I liked the learning. That part was easy. It was the savagery of the playground that terrified me. I enjoyed being alone and I liked reading. My imagination was best employed with one or two choice friends. I was scared of girls. My middle sister told me I stunk. My father thought I lacked fortitude. Come to think of it, I don't think my father ever used a word like fortitude. He told me I was careless and aimless. Later on, he told me I lacked goals and ambition. He was very upset to not find one picture of me in my high school yearbook, other than the mandatory one, of course. I wasn't that far gone just yet. But by then, let me tell you, I was gone. So he never said I lacked fortitude, but that's what he meant. I can see that now. And if he would have used that word, he would have been more accurate than using the others. I wasn't careless or aimless. I cared. I was always thinking about a book I had read, or more likely a comic book I had read. I was deeply engaged in the life of Peter Parker and the trials of being Spider-Man. I loved Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, locked in battle against his sinister father, Fu Manchu. I was always on the lookout for UFOs or perhaps Bigfoot. I was determined to witness one of these. I was aware that danger lurked. I counted on Peter Parker and Shang-Chi to have courage in the face of fear. Now these cats had fortitude. I would pretend to be them. But alas, I was not. I was scared at the bus stop. I was scared in elementary school, and I was scared in middle school and high school. I was afraid of that asshole Russell Hernandez, who only stood about 3 feet tall. I was afraid of Pookie McPeters, and I was afraid of Timothy Burgess, who punched me in the jaw so hard I couldn't close my mouth right for a week. I was unable to stand up to my enemies, who, for whatever reason, seemed numerous in those days. And even now, I couldn't tell you why. What were we getting on about? What was the problem? Girls? Certainly girls, yes. What else? I don't know. Maybe they were scared too. I remember seeing Lawrence Hand much later, years later. Lawrence was a bitter enemy, and we had almost come to blows many times. He was one of the cool kids in school. He had a mustache. I saw him in the beer and wine aisle of a grocery store, and he was bloated and dumpy and quite a bit shorter than I remembered. He seemed so happy to see me. He shook my hand and asked me how I was doing. He told me he was divorced and had 3 boys and he was in sales. He wanted to tell me everything. We were friends, I suppose, and I just listened and smiled and nodded my head, yes, yes, yes. The items I was after, whispering from the shelf, hurry. I, of course, was deeply involved with Mr. Sorrow by then. I'm not sure when he first arrived. It could be all the way back to when I was a little boy. Maybe from the jump. I couldn't tell you. I don't think he spoke to me yet or even showed up in my dreams, which is where he always showed up, in different suits, striped, and different outfits, always striped. He was not without a sense of humor, Mr. Sorrow, and this is perhaps why I liked him so much. I do know when he made his presence known. Like I said, he could have been around and probably was from the beginning, but the first time he popped out of the cake, so to speak, was on my 13th birthday, August 2nd, 1982. I had some friends over and we were watching movies on the VCR. Friday the 13th, Halloween. The phone rang. We had two phones, one in the kitchen and one in the hall, and my father answered the one in the hall. You notice things obliquely as a child. You notice trouble in a distant way. The air is disrupted, the tenor and timbre of things disturbed. My father was not a man of nuance or poetry. His countenance was either that of determination or solemnity, anger, or occasionally joy. The phone call had, however, brought something new. Beleaguered, stunned. How had he come this far without these looks? I had never seen them, but there they were on his face when he took the phone call in the hall, only to emerge minutes later, telling us he had to go out. There were many phone calls that evening, and my mother and father were coming and going, and the party, finally already ruined, was terminated. The VCR turned off, the friends sent home. My grandfather, my father's father, had shot himself in the head and was found lying in his bedroom on the floor of his mobile home. The bureau rummaged through, and his black socks lying scattered on the shag rug. I dreamed of Mr. Sorrow for the first time that night. He was sitting in my grandfather's mobile home on the recliner in only black socks and a striped white undershirt, drinking my grandfather's Chablis. The bullfights in Spanish roaring from the television. My grandfather's ledgers open at his feet. Oh, Mr. Sorrow, what flair, what a panache, what a way to say hello. The cake was wheeled in for my birthday. A deadly cowboy and Indian figurine scene embedded into the frosting. The knife and matching plates and napkins laid out ready to serve. But we did not eat that evening. No, we did not celebrate. Instead, like an obscene and tawdry stripper, Mr. Sorrow, mane full of cake, erupted into view. Ta-da! Well, that was I don't know if that was a great way to start things, but that's how we did it tonight. It's important to start with that because I think somehow that's kind of underneath everything, that incident on my 13th birthday. I don't talk about it that much anymore, but for a while it was something I talked about a lot, and I always wondered, when somebody kills themselves, you wonder what they were thinking. And I know now that he couldn't have known it was my birthday. I started the live record, and a lot of my performances have started with "We Drove Out Through the Dust" in California. And, I keep thinking that maybe I should do something else, but it seems right to start with those things. Everything began in Fresno for me. And moved on to Sacramento. I moved down to San Diego too, and nothing was really any different there either. Grapes cut a long green scar across the face of the valley floor. Like all wounds, it tells the story, the song of how the West was won. It's out in California. The harbor town's a killing floor. washed with methamphetamines, and all the longshoremen's hands, they bleed through a cracked glove upon the wheel. 'Cause out in California, you find the sun. And up north the capital gain, make the rules for everyone. And a man with a suit and a chain, well, he's with you and he's gone. Crowned with a head full of thorns, Sodom and maybe Gomorrah. 'Cause out in California, they spend their nights in bars, and they ride off in a stretch limousine. Maps to the movie stars, 'cause they wanna make you believe that out in California, out in California, out in California, find the sun. Well, we drove out through the dust, past the abandoned buildings and the rundown warehouses, out to the kingdom of grapes and the luminous peach trees, out to where the chain link fence bent down beneath the weight of an ancient tree. And they were all there, fathers and mothers, sisters and liars and killers. They were all buried there. And I left that town and I moved north to where the river cut the city in half, and the crank that the bikers was making kept me up for days. I reversed them. Typically, I would start with they drove out through the dust. The scene I'm describing in that is, my mother died when I was living in Sacramento. My mother died, and I had to go back home to Fresno, and she died quickly. We only got to say goodbye to her. It happened really fast. She was hospitalized, and then within a day or so, she was gone. And thanks, Russ Little. There he is, Russ Little from San Diego, who gave me this guitar and many other things. Thanks, Russ. My mother died. I had to leave Sacramento, and I went back to Fresno, and we buried her. We had a funeral, buried her, And I described driving. My father was from Fowler, California, and there's a cemetery out in a place called Fowler, California, which is, I don't know which direction it is from Fresno, to be honest with you. I want to say south, but I don't remember now. And somebody can tell me if they're from there and they're listening. But Fowler was where my father grew up. It was a farming community, and it was Fresno, where we lived, was the city, but you drove out, and all that was out there was grapevines and peach trees and farming and rundown warehouses. And my mother was buried in this plot where my grandfather and grandmother, my dad's parents, were buried. And there was this tree, there was this massive tree that there was like a waist-high chain link fence around the whole graveyard. And there was this one tree, had this huge part of the trunk that was just smashing the fence down. And I always thought that was really wild. And I just thought it was a drag that my mother was buried in that oh, there's my sister. You're right, Fowler is south of Fresno. Thank you very much. Yes, I thought so. Thanks. I always thought it was a drag Mom was buried there because she's from New Jersey. And I feel like she wouldn't have wanted to be out there. Anyway, it was a drag every time we drove out there, too. It was depressing. So, I'm going to read you a couple of old poems. These are the only two published Marc Delgado poems, and they're not really published. I mean, this is the when I lived in Sacramento, I was the king of junior college, and I went to every junior college in California, I think. And I went to Sacramento City College for a while, and I worked on the literary journal there for a couple years. And this one was 2010, which is a long time ago. But I wrote a couple poems, and this one is called they're in here. And this one I think is the first good poem I wrote. And it's, you know, I was proud of these two poems, but this one is called Grapes, August 2nd, 1982, which doesn't jive with the date in upon the arrival of Mr. Sorrow. I think I said 1983, but it's one of those. Anyway, Grapes, August 2nd, 1982. In dry August, grapes are yanked from the vines and placed on wooden trays in the sun to rid themselves of the life within. It is harvest, and the workers come to clog the fields. Stooped against the day, they gather what they can in the small spaces of their backs. Knotted rows eat into their hands, a crouched existence. A lifetime away, my grandfather lights the dark room of his mobile home with a flash of powder and smoke. Released from the land, he is now straight. A sinuous trail of burgundy bleeds out and stains the cheap shag rug. In his house, the women wore no makeup. His children were made to work as he had worked, and at meals no one spoke. His wife withered to a small cancerous frame. Even the strongest of will can't predict fruit. The strictest wire cannot contain the vine. My father, who believed him, left order for order and joined the military. And in the bowling alleys of Germany, among the polished lanes and uniform pins, met a girl from the slums of New Jersey. An army brat, daughter of a drunk Kathleen Louise, and I was born August 2nd, 1969. I'm going to play this tune. This is from Wildwood Road. And there was two songs on the live record that got cut. And this is one of them. I played this at Pete's. There's my wife. She says, "Beautiful, Papa." Thank you, Melanie. I played this song at Pete's, and I played "Marry the Interstate" somewhere in the middle of the set. And as Justin and I were listening back to the recording and editing it and trying to make something workable, we both knew that these songs were not played well enough to make it on the record. My guitar was really out of tune for these songs, and my guitar wasn't the only thing out of tune. And so they didn't sound that good, and I was sad because I really wanted them on the record, but I was also vaguely aware that I would be asking people to pay for the record, and I felt like I owed it to them to at least be in tune. But this song is called "Conquistador Blues," and it goes with that poem, and it goes with everything. It's about my dad. It's about my grandpa, and as you can see, it lies kind of at the heart of everything. So I'll just play it now. And there you stood on furrowed ground, where you once were king, and now you sit with your Spanish dolls. The bullfights on TV, set in your ways. You never came around. The son that you raised was the one who brought me down, and on your river runs. The lonely San Joaquin, from the banks of a mighty flood, I rose an angry sea, and I couldn't be tamed. I wouldn't settle down. The boy your sun raised was the one who let him down. The moon stole away your Andalusian blood. Now I'm all that remains of your name, and the strange and brave man of Spain. Well, there you have it. Well, it's good to be doing the live stream again. like I said, I did a. Let's see, Cheryl's here. Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Cheryl Lambert and Kurt Henry, who have a wonderful live stream on Sundays called The 9 Mile Swamp, who are also fans of poetry and songs. So make sure you tune into their live stream. Thanks, Cheryl. It's very nice. Yeah, I just kind of had this idea to do these things in this order tonight. I was gonna try to play the whole live at Pete's, but that's not gonna happen. I can tell you that already because it's just we're running out. We've already been here a half an hour. Let's see who else is here. Hey Kurt, thanks man. Kurt is a guitar virtuoso, one of the best I've ever heard. I'm going to read you another poem. This is an interesting, I came across this. This is also in the Sacramento City College Journal, City Works, in 2010. I was pretty proud of this poem too, actually, and it came from. Actually, this poem is very formal in nature. I tried to adhere to a strict form when I was writing this, and I stole the title from a line from another poem, which I found. I used to have the book, but I gave it away to somebody. But I was really into this guy named Spencer Short. He had written this book of poems called Tremolo, and I was really into it. I just couldn't get enough, and I think this poem is a copy of one of his poems too, not the one that I stole the line from. But anyway, this poem is called Reinventing the Aesthetic, which is a line from Spencer Short's poem I Am Cinematographer, which I'm going to read next. But this is my poem called Reinventing the Aesthetic. And it goes like this. So what is there to say that's not been said? The wheel will turn because it is a wheel. The heart, a punch and throb against bone fed by conversation late at night. You feel nothing, the voice murmurs, cutting the dead air like a sharpened spoon with rapt appeal. Reluctantly, we meet for lunch again. Utensils, forks and knives rip at the flesh that bleeds across the plate. A riverband of remorse snaking through to replenish our veins. A failed and trampled path. It's then she says, we should eat more greens, something fresh. In bed lit blue by television light, we watch the Science Channel. Planets, stars. The earth is imperfect, not round. Crushed tight by gravity. A chaos that is ours. The slap of intention. The deadly fight. Her pink and ribboned skin, lovely with scars. Excuse me, there's something in my ear. So that poem, Reinventing the Aesthetic, was about the last terrible relationship I was in. Wasn't the first terrible relationship I was in, but it was certainly the last one, and it was kind of a violent relationship, and it was, we just hurt each other. We were really mean to each other, and we kept trying it, and then it was the same thing over and over again. Anyway, that poem came out of that, but it came from reading this guy, Spencer Short, and I'm going to read this poem now. This is called I Am Cinematographer, and I liked how he did this. This was one of the things I liked how he did, and he would use um, he would he would section the stanzas with letters, like math problems. Instead of 1, 2, 3, he would make them X, Y, or Z, or A and B, and I always thought that was really cool. Anyway, I Am Cinematographer by Spencer Short. Clouds rally like cattle along the horizon. From my window, I can see the entire apparatus, the wheels, the levers and wires, the pulleys. Angels sleep in the luminous bedclothes of those of us who believe in angels. Skinny, hairless, I resemble the fallen child stars of each of my different youths. Like Schoenberg's unplayable string trio, my heart is reinventing the aesthetic. B. My heart is as large as a small Midwestern city. The city is soaking in a glass of water. It springs open before me like a lock on a box. It is the lock and it is the box. It is full of narrow cobblestone streets. I am a cinematographer. The pulleys, the wires. From my window, I can see the entire apparatus. One of my legs is not like the other. It throws everything off. Every single one of his poems is like that. I need to get that book again. I'm going to take a quick drink. These are the things that really... I'm going to do this. I'm going to do these songs. I'm going to do The Queens of Coming and Going with the Joni poem. And I'm going to do Mr. Sorrow Strikes Again. There's a very somber mood for this episode, I realize. And I had a realization before the show. I was nervous. I get nervous prior to doing these because I feel like I should be kind of prepared to do them, not just wing it. I feel like I should have some kind of things to read and that have some type of theme. Let's see. Marie, hey, Lisa, what's going on? I am a cinematographer, right? So cool. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. It's our good friend. I'm always so thankful that people show up and listen, and it's really cool. Thanks for being here. What I was trying to say was I was nervous about doing this because I hadn't done it for a couple weeks, and I always feel pressure to be prepared a little bit. And Melanie said to me, she knows that I've been struggling a little bit lately, and I've been having a lot of bad dreams. I have a lot of bad dreams, and I'm plagued by my past, so to speak. And sometimes I can't, no matter how much I try, I can't escape it. And it affects my waking life, and it affects my relationships, and it affects everything. And as much as I want to be different and change, I still have a lot of things to work out, and I do it in the writing, and I do it playing music, and that it helps, and it's not all true either. Some of the things I write, it's embellished, because if it was just truth, it would be really boring. So I make stuff up too, to at least make it more try to make it more exciting, but most of it's pretty true. But these songs are, I talked about that last poem and how I had a lot of bad relationships before I met Melanie, and this is truly the only decent relationship I've ever been in, and that's only because both of us try. And that's pretty good. That's really all you can ask, you know. But my relationship with women was rough for a long time. I love the songs Boots of Spanish Leather and like Kathy's song, the Simon and Garfunkel's song too. And I wanted to do something that was similar to those, but about this place where I used to spend a lot of time in Fresno. And that's how this song came about. The room was rich with magazines. The chain had been released, and in the darkness you could see her fingers sick with rings. There were no more wedding bells, and the planes had split the trees. They sat on the edge of the bed with the queen of the London scene. And it was a time of infamy, a time of fallen kings. In the courtroom you've been laid bare, the truth had been decreed. Thought you might get away, we thought that you might break free. It's when you found out that you'd been ensnared by the queen of the London scene. While you dreamed, a shadow did appear. And there was something golden dark poured in your ear. And you tried to listen and you tried to hear, but there were only screams. Mouthful of bad advice from the queen of the London scene. Well, the first time I saw Joni, she was standing there outside the London motel. She's standing there with her arms all akimbo, leering at the men driving by on their way to work. And her eyes, they were wine red. They were redder than mine. And Joni, she had a room there at the London motel. took me up there to her room. And I stayed for about 35, 40 minutes. And she sent me on my way. And I saw Joni many times after that. I saw her at the London and the Astro, the Stardust in the Sands. And Joni, she wasn't like the other girls, you know. She never tried to steal my money or my dope. She used to refer to me to the others as her sometimes boyfriend. I guess I kind of like that. I used to, Joni's not a real person. She's a combination of about, I don't know, everybody I knew back then. But there is one figure in particular that she represents, and it's funny because knowing her then, I thought maybe she was, I thought I had it more together than she did, but I know now it was the other way around. I'm gonna play this song, Mr. Sorrow Strikes Again. I knew you'd come, dressed in a sweater. I know you'll stay through the winter. But when we are done, I'll feel much better. I'd rather be dead than sit here and wonder about you, the things that you sell. Heat waves of August, the freeways in the London motel. Can you be kind? Never be rid of the feelings you always remind me of. Your smile and your charm, waltzing through Fresno in summer. I'll be alright again once you've left my side. Downtown is cold, the chill can be bitter. It's hard on the bums and the girls on the corner. When I see those lives on fire, I know that it's you behind the pyre. It's you, the stories you tell. Bookstore killer, the freeways and the London motel. Oh, trouble be kind, never be rid of the feelings you always remind me of. Sacramento, I'll be alright again once you're by my side. I still oversleep these winter mornings. I still can't decide. Last night I desired only a stillness in the wake of each thing. The air held inside a dead spider on the sill, or a shell washed up this morning, or even the air inside of a struck chord when the pianist seems to lean over slightly, as if he strains to hear a note just under his own held breath. I wanted once to be picked clean by music, by wind, by sunlight, by sunlight, by sunlight. So, let's see here. Somebody's. Hey, Anthony Madrano. Tony, what's up, man? I can't reply to that because it's how do you say it? Anyway, Tony and I have a little joke where he yells out Marco, as in like Marco Polo, but then I have a reply that is not what's the word I want? You know, it's offensive. I can't say it. So that's my sister said, one of her favorites. Thanks, sis. So if you want to know the joke, you have to send me a private message so I can let you in on the joke. Everybody here tonight, by the way, if you don't have a download code for the new live record, live at Pete's Candy Store, send me a private message on Facebook, or if you have my phone number or my email, you have it somewhere, because all you have to do is find me on Facebook and or Instagram. Send me a message with your email, and I'll send you a download code so you can have a download copy of the new record. A couple things happened while I was playing that song. What happens when I'm playing a song is I start thinking of other things. And if you'll see me pause, if it looks like I'm taking a dramatic pause in the song, really what that means is I've forgotten where I am because I'm thinking about something else and I have to remember, or I got confused because I don't know, I'm thinking. So a couple things happened. I was thinking I want to tell you more about Mr. Sorrow because we've talked about him a lot tonight, but I don't know what there is to say other than he's an imaginary / real companion that I've had my whole life. I have dreams. I have very vivid dreams where this figure comes to me in my dreams, and in all the trouble in my life, he's always been present. So I write about him a lot. He's become a main figure in a lot of the things I write. And the other thing I thought of was, I feel like I didn't finish a thought a while back when I was trying to tell you why it's such a somber mood tonight. And Melanie was telling me, I was telling you I was nervous to do the show, and Melanie told me, she goes, oh, well, it'll be good for you to do the show tonight. It'll be good for you to do a live stream. Her knowing what I don't know, which is that, you know, I can do whatever I want here, and I can get it out of my system in a cathartic way, and And I hadn't thought of that until then. And up until then, I was nervous and irritated that I had to do something other than sit on the couch and eat snacks. Um, so once she told me that and I thought about it, I relaxed. So if I'm ultra relaxed and um, super boring, that's why. Because I've had an interesting couple weeks and I have had a lot of weird dreams. And so here I am. There's my wife with 2 black hearts. I would imagine those are ours, and a kiss, right? Anyway, there's a couple things. We're almost done here. We've got a few minutes left. There's another poem I wanted to read. I feel like I've read too many poems tonight, but whatever. It doesn't matter anyway. Nothing matters. I want to read this poem that I've been working on. It's not really done, and I I have to share this because it's great. Thanks for sharing your music instead of eating snacks. I feel like I want a t-shirt with that on it. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah. There's time for snacks. I'll stay up later and eat them. For now, I'll just be really depressing. I want to. There's a couple things I want to do, and we're running out of time. I don't want to go too long, but I do want to read this poem. I did it last week, but it was a pre-recorded thing only on YouTube, and I don't think anybody watched it, which is fine. I'm not that mad about it, but I do want to try. I do want to read this poem. I'm going to read it. And I might end with this song that I ended last week with, but again, I don't think anybody really watched it. So, I read you a lot of older things that I've written and things that have, and it's been a lot of memories tonight. I've been talking about essentially my memories and what's going on inside of my head, which is, I'm not always present. I'm always just kind of dredging up, the past is just constantly coming up, and sometimes it controls me. But I'm on to this poem here, and I want to read it because I like it, and I don't think it's done. But as I'm reading it, I'll be able to see why and where it's not done. So, if you're still with me, thanks for tuning in, and I'm gonna read this poem now, and there's this idea I've had, and it's in the title. The title is this: There is a dream, and there is a river, and therein lies the natural world. Dreams, rivers, your life's path or my life's path. Sometimes I get the feeling I've done everything. It's like a feeling of deja vu, like I've already dreamed it or I've done it. I feel that a lot. I feel that feeling a lot. And sometimes I'm really surprised by my life today. And I get so surprised by it that I get terrified. And I get so terrified that I revert back to my old personality, which does not want to do anything and gets really afraid and wants to quit. I know this is not making sense, but I feel like our path in life is this kind of mix of a river and a dream, and I don't know much more about it than that, but I feel like if you just kind of follow the course, that instead of fighting it, you end up in the right place somehow. That's a really crappy explanation. Maybe I should just read the poem. There is a dream, and there is a river, and therein lies the natural world. The white table glows in the room, and on the table there is a camera, a Hasselblad from Gothenburg, Sweden, with its tributaries and ports, and eye for industry and trade, which served as a model and inspired the Pony Express, snaking its way from St. Joseph, Missouri, through Olaf Bergstrom's Nebraska to Sacramento, California, where I drove a 1974 Volvo into the ground. And the woman I bought it from, but never paid, repossessed it one morning while I slept one off, and woke to find a box of papers and half-glass pipes and twisted and burned strands of chore boy in the foyer of the place on 26th Street, where I became one of the denizens of the distal outer ring of downtown. Hustling pool at the Monte Carlo, arrows at the streets of London. Sitting motionless at night in the Capitol Garden with staring bronze statues that never spoke a word, but wept a chasm of tears in the footlights of the Vietnam War Memorial. I believe I dreamed everything. The arrival of Mr. Sorrow in the anteroom of the striped house, his left hand clenched beneath his jaw, his right finger extended to the many rooms I will eventually occupy and materialize in, and no, I have seen them before. One in which I lay beneath a clear tent bound to oxygen, I can no longer summon on my own. Like my neighbor, Mr. Sherman, gasping between syllables and eking out sentences which he paused, gasping between syllables and eking out sentences while he paused on his front lawn, the mower humming and kicking out gasoline and his wheeze a tiny drone that preceded my love for postmodern classical avant-garde, and somehow was a harbinger of my fate, my shit lungs that I inherited from some unknown early twin in Spain or Poland or Ireland, who poured whiskey over ice and was unfaithful and unkind to everyone he knew, and then in a hairpin life turn, with a dead right arm and skin as thin as tissue paper and a head full of invisible friends, stopped lying and stealing and drinking and slowly became someone else. The person he wanted to become, which was nobody, nothing, a wisp of air, a downed tree branch, a circus tent collapsed on the edge of town. Ray Bradbury and his waffle iron, frying eggs in the morning for his children who didn't know he had a job at all other than caring for them, which he did wholeheartedly, and then lit a tiny lamp at night and wrote stories about Mars and tattoos and circuses. Not necessarily striped, but dangerous and fun, like the one I worked in as a freak for years. Another room where a small child is huddled in the corner and won't look at me, and I have an uncontrollable urge to kick it. The dream has variations, but is essentially the same. Mr. Sorrow in stripes, a house with many rooms that I cannot exit by going back the way I came. I can only proceed, and every time the spiel is the same. Are you ready to play the game? Are you ready? Once I got my ass kicked by a friend because I had stolen his girlfriend, and she was the only one who didn't know I was the wrong choice. I stole more from both of them than the beating could cover. There is a whisper of a scar on my top lip where his fist opened the skin. I got what I came for, he said to me, as we stood there, my blood spilling onto the sidewalk and his face howling with rage, and the knowledge that no matter how many punches he threw, he could not change the trajectory of events, and he could not regain what he lost and so desperately wanted. The moon is full and shines incandescent, a giant white tablet in the sky, a perfectly round egg, a hug and a slap from outer space. The natural world is a letter filled with sentences I cannot understand. It sits on the table in the dark room next to the camera. The envelope torn open and discarded on the floor. There is no return address. I do not know who sent it. Inside the envelope with the letter, a map folded several times, many times, folded, and it resembles a square. And I am not willing to unfold it. I don't want to see where it leads. It does not matter if I open the map, because that is where I am going. I am going to the destination designated on the map, and I don't need it. I will get there anyhow. And I don't need to read the letter, but I have read it many times already. I especially like the part on page 3, after the greeting and the pleasantries and the early trouble that came and went. The letter goes like this. In your house, you have found a table and a chair and a camera. You hear the voices in the other room. Your name has changed 1,000 times. The white table glows in the dark room. There is no chain on the door. There is a moon in the sky, round and perfect and white. So unlike an egg, it is the most perfect egg you have ever seen. A few of you are still with me. And I decided, while I was reading that I'm going to finish with this song instead, because it makes more sense. This is a song called The Boats in San Pedro Harbor. And it's written to everybody left behind, Joni and Mr. Sorrow and all the people I used to hang with, Kid Durango, Cleats, Lisa. This is a song for them. When I was leaving California, I'd left California, actually. No, I was living in San Diego, and I was working on this record. And Melanie had shown me how to use a computer. I'd never used one before. I mean, I'd used one, but I didn't know I didn't know my way around the internet. And I saw this picture of these boats in San Pedro Harbor, and it was the most peaceful thing I'd ever seen. And I thought, that's what I want to name this song, even though I never mentioned boats or the harbor or anything. It just, the feeling that picture gave me was the feeling I had when this song gave me. She's miles away, and the burning fever's gone from the heat waves and the freight trains time and space. Well, it turns and it teeters on, and the wheel takes a slightly different turn away. Hey, and what's that speed she's traveling on? And what's that sound that keeps her hanging all along by the freeway? What's that speed she's traveling on? And what's that sound that keeps her hanging all along by the freeways and the freight trains? She stayed too long. She stayed too long. She stayed too long. That's the perfect ending because we've stayed too long. Too long. We've gone on too long. But thanks for joining me. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Cheryl and Kurt. Make sure you tune in to Cheryl and Kurt's fine show on Sundays. Check them out on Facebook, 9 Mile Swamp. Thank you, everybody who's here, who's tuned in and listened and shared this time with me. It means a lot to me. So if you want a download of the record, I'd love for you to have it. It'll be out on all streaming services shortly, any day now. But it's on Bandcamp now. And hope you listen to it. And thanks for joining me. Next week, I'm not going to do this live stream. Oh, that's my sister. I love you too, Franny. Thanks for tuning in. I'm not going to do the MXDTV next Thursday because I'm doing the American Folk Art Museum live stream on Friday night. So I don't want to do back to back. I'm going to just ask you to tune in to one, which will be Friday night. I'll be playing with a couple other really cool artists, and so I'm excited to do that. I've wanted to do that for a long time. I wanted to do it when they used to do it in person, but now, of course, everything's like this. But that's next week. If you can, I'll be posting things about it. And then I forgot to mention this, and it's worth mentioning, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, but tomorrow night at the Colony, if you're a local person, if you're a Woodstock person, tomorrow night at the Colony, my great friend Eric Squindo is doing another one of his wonderful tribute shows, and which he always asks me to do, so I'm really lucky. And tomorrow night is the songs of Dolly Parton. So we're going to be doing a Dolly Parton tribute tomorrow night at the Colony. So if you're around, come on out for that. Amy Labor is going to play, Dave Brown, Eric Squindo, and Lydia gonna play, and I believe Lara Hope's playing. So that'll be a fun time. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I've gone too long. It's already been an hour and 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Bye.